I'm back. Well, what have we got today? Well, excitingly, or not, depending on your point of view, we've got the VG800 from Boss, a V-guitar processor. Now, for anybody who doesn't know what a V-guitar processor is, don't worry yourself. You're going to learn all about it in this review on an inside and outside review. And they'll be playing at the end of the video and all the rest of it. Now, this is coming to me just today, in fact. This is like brand new off the shelves. There aren't many people that have reviewed one of these yet. So I'm probably going to be one of the first that hasn't had it given to him or hasn't been to NAMM to mess around with them at NAMM. Well, I have to say, it's pretty bloody cold here in England right now, right? So bear with me, won't you? So before we get this out, I just want to show you something else. Yeah, it's worth taking a look as well. Yes, here it is, the Roland VG99. Now, there were a lot of VG devices, I believe, before this one, but this was my first involvement in the Roland VG series, and I thought, I generally take a quick look at this. Yeah, I can't be sure what date I bought this, but I've had it for years and years, and way back, I used this on an album for some particular sounds. I know that it had a particularly good acoustic sound, and I think it was, it was in D something or other. In any case, there it is. And this is the predecessor of the new VG800 down there on the floor at the moment. So, a bit more about this one later on. We might even do a bit of a sort of quick, well, not played, but a comparison of the two, of what you got and what you get, maybe. Maybe that's worth looking at, because I don't think there's that many people got one in as good a condition as this one. It was hardly ever used, if you want the truth. So let me get the other one out and we'll do the unboxing. I just wanted to give you a bit of an introduction to the V-guitar system, as it was when I first saw it. So let's get right down to this and unbox it, eh? This is exactly as it's come to me, by the way. There's nothing special here, and it was bought, by the way, as well. Just in case you think this wasn't a paid review. It isn't. It comes with a manual and a few other bits and pieces. We'll have a look at them later on. Looks pretty good to me. Well, usually Roland stuff, Roland Boss is. This is a power supply. We'll look at that later too. Let's move on to the beast, shall we? No, not me. The beast. Here we go. My God, it isn't very big, is it? Let's move the box out of the way. Well, here we go then. Let's get it out of the packet. I can't wait, can you? Now, there's not much to look at round here at the moment. You can take a quick look at what it looks like, but you've probably already seen that if you know what a VG800 is. So what I'm going to do is pull the back off first so we can have a look inside and see what this thing's made of. After all, that's what you're buying, isn't it? Okay, well, let's take a quick look at what we've got here. I've undone all the screws, so it should just literally almost falls apart. Well, there's the bottom case out of the way. Let's turn this thing over. Well, you don't see much on the back, but I think we'll get the stand out and look a bit closer. I guess that's the first time you will have ever seen inside one of these VG800s. Yeah, me too. And as normal, this thing is really well made. It's been done on a machine, and there's not much more you can say about that, really, except that it's well made. Now, I have taken a quick look at a few of the chips. I looked at this one first, which is, it's basically an ISSI 2345. It's got a load of numbers after it, and we'll come back to that a little bit later. This one down here, which is also an ISSI, and that's a 2345 with an I8 426 16160J. Yeah, big long numbers, but we will come back to them later in the video. And I think that's important. You ought to know what you're buying, don't you? Or don't you care? We've also got what looks like an AD2428. I'm not sure what that is. It's this little one down here. And there's also another chip, which is a 2470 E11, and that's a JRC chip, which is that tiny little one down there. So you can see the overall quality of this board is pretty cool, really, overall. So I'll zoom in a little bit closer so you can just have a quick look at the quality. Well, there it is. I mean, that's as close as I can get with this camera without going at macro lenses and things, but it's only the back of the board, so I think, you know, for now, that's fine. What I'm going to do is flip that board out and turn it over so we can get a really good look at what this VG800 is made of. Yeah. Okay, well, let's take a look at the main board, or the motherboard. There she is. Biggest chip. It's a BMC 5140716, made in Japan. So you're not going to see that, well, probably in anything else. You're only going to see it in the likes of Roland Boss equipment. Yeah, so it's proprietary chip. Well, that could be a bit painful, especially if you have trouble. But who knows? Moving along a bit, you'll see these two here. I call them Bill and Ben, yellow and red. Looks like expansion FL126 SA1FGQ. They look like memory chips to me in any case, so I'm not really too worried about them. Moving along a little bit more, we've got this tiny one over here. And that is, well, what is that one? That's an AKM 4619VN, which we've seen many times on these type of products. You've got another tiny one across there. And that one is a BD9865 MWV. What else we got? Any more? Well, not really. But if I want you to have a quick look at these while you're just in passing, notice that they are generally metalized, and they've got these spacer type of things on them. You'll see them there. These three end ones have got gold. This one's got gold, and those two in the middle ones have plastic ones that I've removed. Also note that these two connections here are directly on the board, and they're no worse or no better than anybody else's plastic ones, except that they do have a metal plate across the back to strengthen that all up. And I think that's a good move too. Well, looking at the overall quality, you can see that it's very, very good quality. And that's one of the main things. This is probably one of the reasons why you don't really see much Roland Boss trouble, do you? Notice that there is a capacitor in there, and over the years that will probably deteriorate, and if one day you turn it all on and it doesn't work, well, you'll know the first culprit to look at, won't you? It could be any of the others, that's agreed, there's capacitors down here, but that's the first thing I'd look at. Okay, so nice quick look at the board. I'm going to have a look at the other side as well now, because there's a few bits and pieces in there. I just want to show you how it's put together. Okay, well, this is the other section of the assembly. We've got these down at the bottom on this daughter board that you can see there, and that's basically a pedal board assembly, as it says there, actually, if you can read it. It's got the proud emblazoned name of Boss on it. We've got this other board here which looks after, that's probably MIDI I/O. In fact, I'm pretty sure it is, and you've got another connection there which I'm not really sure what it is yet, but we'll see it later. We've got a nice ground point there, very nice. A few chips on there, I'm not too worried about them. I'm not really worried about anything in this section, really. You've got another little chip up there. Again, I'm not really bothering about these. It's more ancillary stuff than anything. I just wanted to show you, really, the overall quality of the thing. And you know, this thing's probably, if I was to touch it, oh yeah, it's still warm off the production line. Let me rebox it back up and we'll go up top. Well, I do hope that little introduction to inside has shown you the sort of quality that you get with Boss and Roland. And to be honest, it's very much like the GT1000 core, and it's very like the, what's the other one name? The other 800 anyway, the one that's a synth. Yeah. So let's have a look at the top section of the device, because, well, you should. You've got to know what you're going to use, aren't you? Okay, number one, the obvious thing is this this display here. What can you say about that? Well, I think it's only in black and white. That's what you can say about that. But it is there, and it's a sizable screen, so I'm quite happy with that actually, if you want the truth. Next thing we got up is this output level, and that again is pretty much the same on so many different devices from Roland Boss. You know, you turn it and it gets louder. How hard does it have to be? We've got a button here for choosing the instrument. Now, a lot of this will become clearer later on when you see the physical demo, rather than me just showing you this here now. But I will be turning it on presently, just running through the knobs first. Next one up, we've got an effects button, so we can mess around with choosing effects. It configures the effect settings and signal chain, the order in which the effects are connected from there. Yeah. Next one is a menu button, so we can get at the main menus from there. All very simple. You've got a page left and right, you can see that, and if you press them two it will write, and if you press them two it will lock. And there's an exit button in the middle. Bear in mind, the exit button isn't always the exit button. It can, if you've gone down a few menus, it can take you back a menu and things like that. And as for the left and right, well, they're pretty obvious what they do. We've also got, which is again very common on these Roland Boss devices, we've got these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 separate buttons. And you'll notice that these will press like that. You see that? And, well, what do? Well, they really select what's above them or change what's above them. More on it a bit later, but that's basically what they do. Moving down to the bottom here, we've got, well, basically these are like up and down switches. That's a down, that'll take you down per setting, and that'll take you up per setting. If you press both, you'll get a tuner. If we hit this one and this one, it will bypass the effects, which is very nice. And this is a control pedal that you can basically, you can apply it or not to any given memory, and or setting, if you will, or preset, if you will, call it which one you want. And again, it's very common on Roland gear, and there's very few that don't have controls on either 1 or 2 or whatever. Okay, well, I'm not going to spend all day around the side. Basically, you've got a MIDI in and out. I don't like these type of connections, although some people I'm sure will. For me, they're a little bit fiddly, they're a little bit painful. They are what they are, and these two are basically plastic. You've also got room here for a Control 4 or 5, or an Expression 2 pedal, so I assume there'll be an Expression 1. And we've also got USB-C, which I love to see because, well, that's good. As well as that, we've got the CE approvals, the UKCA, the FCC, you've got a WE there, you've got a ROSH compliance there. You've got where it's made, very important, if there's any patents, and the full address of where it was, well, not where it was made, but who's responsible. And that is part of all the approvals. So when you see any pedal of any brand that does not have this stuff on it, it is technically illegal. Just bear that in mind, won't you? Okay, well, here we are around the back. Isn't that exciting? Not. But we really need to have a quick look at it. This is for the GK5 in, not the GK3 or the GK2 or the GK this or that. It's for a GK5, and more on that later because we'll be showing you some of that. We've got a GK output too, so what goes in, I guess, comes out. Maybe you can feed other things with it. I'm sure you can. I'm absolutely sure you can. Well, what else have we got? We've got the guitar input. We've got a ground there, by the way, that you can connect up if you're getting, you know, ground hum problems and that sort of thing. There it is. We've got a guitar input. We've got a send in stereo, so that'll be like a stereo type of plug, 6.3. And we've got a return in stereo, which is quite nice really to have. On the output side, we've got a right mono and a left. Well, we've got a right and a left. If you set the two up, the right and the left, well, that's exactly what they are. And on according to this, right is mono, which left's normally mono, but there you go. You can see it yourself. Or if you want phones, you can put them in this one here. And then we've got this Control 2 and 3 or Expression 1. And I did say that there'd be another one somewhere. Well, there it is. Along the end we're using the mains connector. That's the standard one. That's a PSB-1U. It's probably 9 volts. Well, more of that later, we'll be looking at it. There it is. Sadly, there's no on or off button. You'd think they could come up with some method on the top somehow of just having somewhere where you could turn the darn thing off. I mean, do they want the planet to get hotter? Personally, here in England, I wish it would. It's freezing. Anyway, enough round the back. Let's go back up top and start plugging things in and stuff like that. Well, typical of Roland, really. Everything about it. It's even like a GT1000 core or that GM800. Very, very similar devices, and I hate to say it, but they're basically the same footprint. Yeah, quite interesting stuff. It's a bit sad that it's only a black and white screen, especially for the price. You know, it's not a cheap device, more about price a bit later. So what we've got here now is a situation where I could go thumbing through the front end all day. I don't want to do that, and I'm sure you don't want to watch me doing that either. So one of the things I'm going to do is whip the laptop out, find the software, download the manual, which, by the way, there is a manual. It says a PDF manual. I hope it's not just the VG800 quick start manual that is pretty basic by any standards. It doesn't really tell you anything about the software and the rest of it, if there is software. I can assume there must be. I've assumed things before. So I'm going to go away and spend a bit of time looking at it, getting the software going, messing around as you do, and we'll come and have a real good look at the software and the rest. And after that, bit of summing up, a few specifications and things like that. You want a few of them, don't you? You do want to know what you're buying, surely. Well, in any case, whatever you do, don't forget, do that thumbs up, press the subscribe button and ring that bell. Yeah, these things cost me money. This one was, well, expensive, let's put it that way. With all this stuff in here, I might get some of it back, so it sort of breaks even except for my time. And I've put extensive time behind all of it. You mark my words. I'm on near enough, I don't know, I must be near 450 videos now, so going back to 2009. So is there a lot for you to come and look at? Well, there absolutely is. And some of it you might say, oh yeah, but that's old gear. No. Who cares about that? Well, you might be one of the guys that can only afford the old gear. You always remember that, won't you? Yeah. I tell you what, just before we go, I think I'll pull up the old VG99 and we'll just take a few minutes just to have a quick look. I'm not going to plug it in, just a closer look at it. Yeah, why not? Because it's the predecessor to this one. And I'll tell you something, from the VG99 to the date of this one, it's years and years from when that VG99 was introduced. So we'll have a quick look. You see, there are a few things that are different. I mean, first off, well, the first thing that's the same is the power supply. It's a PSB-1U marked on the back here, and that's exactly the power supply I'm using, the exact same one I was using for the VG800. Interesting, huh? Well, that power supply is very common for a number of years now, and there it is, just plugs in and it works. What more can you ask for? But as well as the power supply, you'll notice up here, it's actually got an on and off button, which is surprising that the new unit doesn't have that. In fact, there's a lot of things that the new unit doesn't have that this one does have. Yeah. For example, I'll just look across the back here. I've got full-size MIDI ports. I've got a RRC2 in for a FC300 floor pedal, if you can remember them. I certainly can. In fact, I've owned a couple. There's a USB, probably for updating firmware and things like that. There's a Control 3 and 4. There's an expression pedal. It's even got a digital out, you know, what do they call them things now? Well, it's a digital out. Yeah, you'll know it. We've got one for phones, a left and a right. Yeah, we've even got two proper connections with a ground, a hot and a cold. Two of them, a right and a left. And we've got a ground lift. Didn't see one on that. And input and output for guitar. It's all there on the top. Well, let me lean it back a bit. It's even better. I mean, you've got little lights that line up. You got all the stuff. In fact, in many ways, my guess is that this device is probably not better sounding, maybe, or not. Let's not write the VG99 off. But it's certainly got more ability for control on the controls that are on it. And it's always been an interesting one to me, this. I just thought I wanted to show you that. You can see the screen's, well, sort of similar. It's a black and white screen. It looks to me, to be honest, it's a similar size, similar. And you've got other things like this should I do that? Yeah, they've got that sort of thing going on. And, oh look, a scroll knob. Isn't everything easy? Just see that. On that thing down there. And that thing down there, the VG800, well, it's probably as dear as this was. And this is a bit bigger and nicer. Sadly, it's only got the GKN, the GK3 or the GK2. There's no GK5 that's on the VG800. But do remember that the GK5 costs substantially more than the GK3 or GK2. The problem is, if you've only got a guitar or instrument with a GK2 or GK3 in particular, then you've got to buy other boxes like a GKC, let me get this right, a GKC-AD will take a 2 and drive a 5, or a 3 and drive a 5. The other way around, you want the 5 to drive this old one here. Well, you need a GKC, I think that's an AD. Yeah, there's one over there. We'll be having a quick look at that a bit later in the video. Yeah, so that's it for this little bit, and I'm going to go and set the software up. Okay, well, let's open up the Boss Tone Studio. Here it is. Better plug the device in. Oh, we won't get anywhere. There it is. Wait a few seconds. You see how it jerks around like that? That's it. I'll refresh it. And now I'll see this one. I want to go for the top one, not the one with the door control. Press OK. Let's just see how long that goes. It says on the unit data receiving. That's back. The software's coming up with a bit of luck anytime soon. It's always a bit slow, I must say. That yeah, it's a little bit disappointing, bearing in mind this new machine, it's a brand new machine, is a sort of £1,600 very fast laptop, and it's designed for games and the rest of it. It's got Windows 11 on it, but if it doesn't work on this fast, you mark my words, it probably won't work well on yours either. So just keep that in the back of your mind. Let's carry on and have a look at the Boss Tone Studio for VG800. Yeah, the V-Guitar processor. Well, when you look in here, this looks pretty much, well, I hate to say it, but like of all the other Boss Tone Studios that I've ever seen. They're all pretty much similar. Well, let's start as we mean to continue. You've got this section down here on the left-hand side, and that's all about, well, those are the various, I'll call them presets. They may call them other things, but if we look down here, if we look at this pickup selector, well, why not? Let's just click it. There you go. This is the time it takes to flip across. It wasn't too bad on this laptop, but I can assure you, on most of them, it's going to be grim. So we could change things there, but we'll come back to that in a moment. So I'll flip back to one that's already been there, and you can see it's still relatively slow. Relatively. It's workable on this laptop, but I must tell you that I've been through 2 laptops that are probably going to need formatting. They've had a lot of work done on them, different devices, to get to this laptop, which is a bit of a pain. We're basically in the editor window. You can see that there. But this whole section here, this is called a function select area. And right enough, it lets us to go off into the various functions that you might want to really look at. Yeah. You've also got a control assign button here. And the control assign, really, that accesses things like memory, MIDI, control head colours, all sorts of things. If you click it down, you'll get the screen. So that's the next one you're looking at. Further across, we've got a write button, which is over here. We can either clear this or write it or whatever. It's one or the other by the look of it. This thing here, and we can press down. At the moment, we've got dual guitar, electric guitar, acoustic, electric bass, VIO guitar, and synth, whatever VIO guitar is, whatever it happens to be. Yeah, so, well, let's move on from there. What have we got next? I've covered that controller sign up to now. And we've got this part down the bottom here. Well, this is a reflection. If I click on that one, say for example. Okay, so there's a chorus. And below is you can click it twice and turn it on, like so. And below, you've got the various choruses and the parameters. So if we wanted to choose a different chorus, we could choose a mono, stereo 1, stereo 2, or a dual chorus. That's all good, don't you think? I do. And we can turn it on or off here. There you go. It's now off. You see it go off and on. That's another way you can turn it on or off. All these parameters are simple matters to just bring up or down, whatever you fancy. And that's that, really. We can add blocks into here quite easily, really, if we want to. But more of that a bit later, maybe or not. That's where you add the blocks. Let's go and take a look at the librarian. Now, the librarian's got nothing in it because it's a brand new system. So let's just grab a couple of these presets. I'll call them presets. They'll call them something else. They go down this thing called live set. And the live set is a collection of presets. If I grab a couple, you can see that each one takes its time to come across. But of course, once they're across, they're in the live set. So you could set up a gig with all these various presets, depending what you want. And there's a couple I've done. It's all pretty boring and pretty easy if you want the truth. Let's have a look at the next one along. You can create, by the way, before I do move, you can create many live sets. You can import them, you can export them, you can do all that sort of stuff. By the way, just notice there that the VG800 is in guitar mode. Let's move across to the tone exchange. Now on the tone exchange, I could sign in. I don't think I will because it's all on video. But these are the things they've got there. What's the date today? It's the 15th of February. This is what they've got there on a pedal that hasn't been launched very long. These are sort of quick, short-term review from the launch. I've only had this pedal 2 or 3 days, so, you know, this is what's available. And you can go and grab all this stuff and pull it down and put them in your VG800 if that's what you want to do. There they are, popular download, blah, 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 blah. I'm not going to spend time on it because, to be honest, it's not for me. Might be for you. We've got a thing called an IR loader here. And I did pull in a couple of IRs previously. These were some that happened to be sitting on the desktop. And I pulled them in. And they were very easy to pull in. So what I'll say to you is, as far as they are concerned, you can have 16 of them in here. But 16 is quite a lot of IRs. Never mind the 2,000 you get from Fractal. That's a mind-boggling number that I don't think many people would actually ever use. 16 of them, as long as there's 16 pretty nice ones, you're on a winner with that stuff. Moving along a little bit further, we've got a tuner or a tuner. We can set the frequency up. It's currently set to standard sort of 440 hertz. And we've got an output mute, and you'll see the strings on there. We go to this type instead if you prefer that. Or there's this other type. Yeah, I don't really care about any of them because, well, they are what they are, aren't they? Right, move along a bit further. In system, there is a lot of options and choices. We've got all these down the side here, and each one's got a whole screen full. So let's have a quick look. This relates here to the knob settings. Underneath that screen there are 5 of them, and you'll notice if we click in here, yes, there are 5 of them. So we can say what each knob wants to do, what we want it to do. At the moment it's instrument type. There we are. But it could be any of these. You can see them there. Quite a good selection. Or it could be either of those. But my guess is these will change when you change those, which is normal. Knob lock off. So it's all what it is. Let's move down a bit. You've got a GK setting here. This is important because you can have a number of different GK sets. Now, why would you want to do that? Well, it could be for lots of reasons. It might be a different guitar, it could be different this, different that, you name it. In any case, you've got the ability to have a number of them. In fact, you've got the ability to have, where am I? 10 of them, which is far more than I'd ever need. I only need, have a guess, 1 or 2. The GK5 is the current selection. There's a GK5 kit, 6, kit 7, GK3, 2A, GC1, I don't know that one. We've got options for piezo, I think some people call it. Anyway, there they are. You can see them on the screen. So we've got all them choices. Pickup phase, normal or inverse. Pickup direction, normal or inverse. S1, S2 position, normal or inverse. Now, you might not have an S1, S2 position, depending on what your equipment is you're using and stuff like that. On the Strat that I did the conversion on the GK3, that had everything. So, you know, I could choose different things for that particular guitar. The tuning style is normal, but it can be open D, E, open G, open A, drop D flat, and there they go. You can see them there. Quite interesting is that, and no doubt I'll be doing a demo of that a bit later on. Yeah, so we could sort of whiz around all these things depending on what you're trying to do, but they are there. And we've got setting 2 as well, which is, this relates to the actual input coming from the string, and we should target them nearest where them arrows are there without going up in the top. That's what that's for. Let's go back. We've got an output setting. It's set up for line and phones and recording currently, but there's all these other outputs. Again, you can see them. But look. We've got a global EQ, and we've got a number of EQs there for global EQs, EQ 1, 2 and 3. Now, the advantage of that is, depending on where you go, you might have one for one place and another one for somewhere else. Makes sense. And it's all global and all settable 3 times. It says here total setting, whatever that is. Noise threshold, I think that's NS. Yeah. And reverb level. I could be wrong on that, I didn't bother. Yeah, don't worry, it's there. Play option. We've got foot switch modes, up and down switches, and you get the idea of what you can see there. We can also look at memory and the extent of the memory, the minimum and the maximum. Got some other hardware settings here. We can assign holds. There's various options, like I said. You can see them there, and I won't bore you too much with them. We've got an FX bypass, which is currently set off. But if you wanted to not use any of the effects, full stop throughout the unit and just use the unit for the guitar itself and the sound itself, well, that's where you do it. We've got GK audio. We've got an audio mode, which is mix, off, mix, out and through. There they are. USB audio, standard. Couple of options below. Standard mix and re-guitar. So you could reamp it, almost. MIDI settings. I'm not boring you with MIDI settings, honestly. The book, the manual, is large for MIDI program map and all this stuff. Well, you can see, you don't want to know, and neither do I. You can download the owner's manual. I'm glad to say that there is one. Probably spoke about it elsewhere, but that does matter. We've got device settings. This device is the VG800, but it could be the door instead, the VG800 door control. We've got MIDI in VG800, and we've got MIDI out VG800. Or we could go through that Microsoft GS wavetable even. This tells you the version of the software. This is version 1 of the Tone Studio, not of anything else. We've got system data backup. We could do a backup to file. Well, let's do that. Machine, there we are. Let's put it in there. VG800, save. Watch how long it takes. It's not too bad, that isn't. But remember, this is a very fast machine. And it will certainly be slower when we go to the all data backup. I'm now on the all data backup, and I'm going to do the same to the same place. And you're going to notice that, well, it's rather slower. Here we go. Well, I know it's rather slow because I've already been down this 2 or 3 times on all the laptops that have failed in one way or another. So ensure that your laptop, just while it's backing up, keep your eyes on the speed of that. Ensure that your laptop doesn't have too many audio drivers and video drivers and screen capture drivers, or you're going to end up with trouble. This here is about as good as it gets that I'm demonstrating. I don't think you'll find anything any quicker than what this is. So do bear that in mind, won't you? Because, well, it's a bit of a massive job. And it's going, but, you know, it is a bit slow. I could pause it, but, well, yeah, well, I could. Or I could cancel it and say, well, that'll do, you know. But the truth of it is, it's probably worth watching just to see how long it actually takes to actually back up. The unit itself, by the way, it says locked on the screen. So you're not going to really be able to do anything with that while it's doing this backup. And I'm not surprised about that, really. That's about par for the course, if you follow me. Yeah, hope you're liking this so far. And just while we're waiting for that do its backup, why don't you do that thumbs up? Do that subscribe, because I need as many subscribers as I can get. I keep spending all this money on equipment and putting hours and hours. This video will have taken nearly a week by the time you get to watch it. A week of my time. Always remember that. You know, my videos are not necessarily short, but they are very thorough. And most people want thorough reviews rather than sponsored and meaningless stuff that is sales gimmicks, really. So I'm going to cancel it and come back out, because you'll be as bored as me. There it is. I've come back out. I'm going to close that away. I'm going to come back to the editor, and everything's now familiar again. I think it is, isn't it? Okay, taking a look further at this section, if we was to take a quick look at the amplifier, I've got amp 1 there. Here it is, amp 1. It's turned off. It can be on or off, just like that. We can look down here at some of the things that are available. On this particular one, you've got this various types of amp. You can see them. There is plenty to go at. We can look at the speaker type, which is original, all these others. And then we come up to, if you notice, it says user 1, user 2, user 3. Well, those are the IRs that we pulled in earlier. If I was to choose user 1, well then, yeah, you'd get what I stored in the IRs under user 1. Quite obvious, really. We've got some mic types, number there, like plenty to go at, and the distance from the speaker, and the mic position. Okay. So we cover a lot of things with this. I haven't found anywhere within this software where you can sit here and add in loads of other information. I hit right buttons and all sorts of things, but there's nothing going on there. Yeah, so, well, will I find anything to edit the actual thing there? It might be, but I aren't finding it. That's the nicest way I can put it, really. And yeah, that's it for that. So really, looking at this, it's a pretty all-round type of product. And don't forget, you can pull this stuff down, pull these blocks down and stuff like that. Hash guitar, click that, it's going to produce you what it's got. And all these, well, they got some guys here with, I've done these and he's done them and that sort of thing. Now those settings from these guys might be very good for you. You might love them. But then again, you might not, because they're their sounds. And what I've often found with all of it is when you go down their sounds, it's rather different. You see, emulating other stuff, aren't you, all the time? And you just have a look at a few more while I'm in here. Yeah. Conclude what you will. I mean, Taylor Swift, oh, I'm sure you'll enjoy that one. I'm not even going to expand on it. Here we are. I'll go through a few more and then we've had enough of the software, I guess. Just go a little bit further. Yeah. Here's number 6. Where am I going? Who have we got here? John Frusciante. Oh, he gets a player, isn't he? What about Metallica? Oh, yeah. A Katana Gen 3. Well, I don't know about any of that. You can see there's a lot to play around with. And as far as I'm concerned, well, good luck to you. I'm going to go back to Editor. And yeah, that's the end of the short introduction to the software. Remember, it is version 1. It may gain a lot of extra features by the time you get to it. As I said, it's the 15th of February while I'm recording the screen. So that's where we're at. Yeah. Well, there we go. A quick look at the software. It's pretty much like all the other software that you might see from Boss and Tone Central or Roland, or any of them. They're all pretty much of a much, aren't they? I mean, it's not a bad device, don't get me wrong. But it was so slow in that software. Some of them, it's really frustrating sometimes. And I did upgrade the firmware on this, but there was no newer program that I could find. There will be updates coming along. I'm sure there will for this thing, but they do take a little bit of time. So do bear that in mind, won't you? Because, well, it can be a bit frustrating, especially if you're early on with the product. Well, like I am. I remember the Fender Tone Monster, we'll call it that, on the first review I did about a year ago or 9 months ago. In fact, I stopped the review and gave up. That's how bad it was. But I posted what I actually saw at the time. I hope people gain from that. It's a very different product today, and that will be coming up presently. So do bear that in mind, won't you? Now, one of the things about this device, just in case I've never mentioned it, is you can use it with a bass guitar instead of a regular guitar. And I think the pickup's different for a bass. Well, I'm pretty sure it is. I could be wrong, but it's life. 4 strings, 5 strings, or whatever. Them bass guys, I mean, they've got 1 string that takes up my 6, haven't they? But there you go. And I've got a bit of spec down here, because I don't know these top of my head. I know I'm a genius, not. But no, I don't remember any of these. Without the rubber feet, it's 6 13/16 wide, it says. It's 5 3/8 depth, and it's 2 1/12 high. 1/12? I don't know. Then they've added, including the rubber feet, but we're talking of like, it's about 1/8 of an inch on the rubber feet. That's all. It weighs 920 grams, or 2 pounds 1 ounce, which I think's not bad. It's not a particularly heavy, monstrous product, like the Fender one. That's big and monstrous, but then again, that's 4 times the price. Includes its AC adapter. It's a PSB1U, which I've already mentioned. And you get the AC cord with it, which is exciting. A quick start, a leaflet read me first, and 4 feet. 4 feet? It's nearly as tall as me. Down at the bottom it says options sold separately. Well, you can make of those what you like. The divided pickup GK5 for guitar, or GK5B for a bass guitar. I told you there's a different one. Serial GK cable, BGK-3, 3 foot or 1 metre, a BGK-15, which is 15 foot or 4.5 metres, and a BGK-30, which is 30 foot and 9 metres. And they cost, I've got one here, they cost the earth. However, I've got something going on about that pretty presently. Well, I'll let you into the secret now. Yeah, I thought to myself, well, what is it? It's a very expensive, near enough £30 cable for a 15 foot one. Yeah, it's sort of £30 for a cable like that, and it's just like a stereo sort of cable on a 6.3mm stereo jack at each end. And I thought, I'll buy one. So I went on Amazon, and £6.30, yeah, Mr. Tom, Dick or Harry, yeah, made by. I don't care who made it, I'm just interested in one thing. Does it work, yes or no? And if it does, don't buy these. That's all I can say. That's a rip-off. This cable cannot be worth near enough £30. That's about $38 or $40. It's crazy money. Yeah. So that's that out the way. Yeah, there's a GK converter, a GKC-AD, which is down in the box down there, which I have shown on my other video that talks about the synthesizer, guitar synthesizer pedals and things. SY1000 and the rest. There's some foot switches you can buy. There's an FS5U, an FSSL, an FS6 and an FS7. Boring. Expression pedal, well, I wouldn't buy one of theirs. But EV30, FV-500L, it says there, FV500H, Roland EV5. And a TRS MIDI cable, B-MIDI-5-35, B-MIDI-1.35, B-MIDI-2-35, and BCC-1-3535, BCC-2-3535. It all gets too much, that, doesn't it? Yeah. What else can I say about specifications? Well, there are some, but finding them is another story. In any case, the way I think of it, I've already showed you more about this than almost anybody else. Nobody goes into the depths that I do. I don't play it for hours on end. Well, if you want to play it for hours on end, or you want to see it played for hours on end, there are people on YouTube that go and do that. But I prefer to show you what you get, how it's built, how it's constructed, what the costs are, the warranties, the this, the that and the other, even the manual. And then we move on to a bit of jiggery-pokery with other things. I am going to connect up a GM800 to this one with that cable that cost me £6, which would be interesting. And that sort of thing, So, yeah, and then you'll hear it played, and then you can make your own mind up. So let's face it, we'll move on to pricing, I think. Now this thing, moving on to pricing, listen, it's not cheap. It's about £600. I bought it from Anderton's because it's the first place I could get one from. That's really the only reason I bought it from Anderton's. But there it was, £600, so I placed the order, and I still had to wait about 2 weeks before I got it. I only got it, actually, yesterday. I think it was yesterday, give or take. So, yeah, it's in short supply. I hope it's as good as they say. And, take it forward on that. But it's 600 quid. Listen, they're not threepence each. You can't get the discounts. You can't this, you can't. Maybe you'll get the discounts in a year or something like that. Who knows? I might as well cover warranty while we're in passing. As far as I'm aware, the warranty is 1 year. If it's any longer, you tell me, but I don't think it is. From the products that I normally see from Roland Boss, they normally come out at 1 year warranty. Sadly, that's all they're prepared to put behind their products. Yeah, it's just a bit mean, isn't it? Well, I think it is. Now, speaking of being mean, you have subscribed, haven't you? You must have subscribed. I mean, I've got 450 videos for you to go at. You could be as old as I am by the time you finish watching them. Trust me, some of them are very long. Yeah, but you need to do that thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and then ring that bell, ding ding, and yeah, it'll help me. Yeah, well, I'm helping you, aren't I? That's a fair swap. So don't forget to do it, will you? Yeah, I need some more on my channel. I've only been on it 10 years and only got 40,000 or something. It's not good enough. Come on. Well, I really do want to talk about this while we're... let's move that around a bit. While we're here. And this is all well and good as long as you've got a GK5, isn't it? But what if you haven't got a GK5? Well, I hope you all remember this one. This is the one I fitted the GK3 into the body. You can see it down there underneath in that little square. And here it is, up in the top. So, yeah, what do? How am I going to connect to this? Well, it's not as simple as you might think. So when you get your 13-pin cable with your GK3, I think it was the same on the GK2, but that's a long time ago for me. Yeah, there it is. Well, there's no hole in this thing to fit this. Man, throw it away. No, don't throw it away. The problem you've got is your GK3 is so yesterday, man. That's what they'll tell you. Yeah, well, they'll tell you. They'll tell you for good reason, because what they want you to do is spend some more money. Look, you've already spent £600 on this, right? Yeah, 600. Now you're going to have to spend about another... I think these are about £180 for this thing, if you can see it there. It says here, it's not much to look at, is it? It says here, Boss, GKC-AD, GK converter, and it says 13 pin to serial. 13 pin to serial. That's what it says, right? And you've got the ins and the outs at the end. I'm not spending long on it, but I think you need to know about this thing. Yeah, you've got, there's your 13 pin socket on the end. And you've got, yeah, guitar out and GK out, and that GK in, and that's it. That's all you get. Oh, I'm lying. On the side, you've actually got a USB cable, a power and a connect LED, and that, my friends, is it. That's all you get for your money. But without that, you're never going to be able to connect your GK3, or maybe 2, to this. So you connect it to this, and then you have to get one of these cables. Remember them at 27 or 28 pounds, 30 pounds, I think. Yeah, and then you've got to connect one of them out of that into that. That's why I bought the £6 cable, because, well, I'm not going to connect these two as it happens, but coming out of this, you've got out, GK out that is, and on the GM800, you've got one of them in, a GK in. So you take your little short wire and do the business. That's how you'll have the two working together. Anyway, that's enough of the GKC-AD, yeah? And do remember that if you've got it the other way round, where you've got one of these GK5s, but you've got an SY1000, which is a good example, it's a really good example, or that VG99 over there, yeah? Yeah, then you need a different one, and it's down there on the floor. That's a GKC-DA, and that will allow you to go the other way from a serial to a 13 pin. That's as expensive as this one, so be prepared if you've got two of them. Well, I hope we're getting along okay with this. Let's have a little bit of a summing up of just where we're at. We've taken a look at the hardware. The hardware itself, in my opinion, is excellent. It's really, really high quality. It's got all the stuff in it that you might want. It might, just might, be a bit sluggish. Well, I don't think it is, but it might be just a bit sluggish on that processor. I can't tell because it's a Roland Boss proprietary chip. But apart from that sluggishness that I've seen, this is 100% good on the hardware. I think there's no getting away from that. It just is nigh on perfect for what you pay and what you get. So I'm not worried about that. On the software, it's a little bit early for me to criticise the software too much, but what I will say, because I should criticise it if it isn't right, it's still the same £600 as if it works or if it doesn't. So currently I'd give the software about a 65 to 70% or a 6.5 to 7 out of 10. So it's not perfect on the software side of things, in my opinion. Today there's very little on the shared internet thing, very little that I could see. But of course it's so young. I've seen this on other devices, and later on they magically spring into action, and they become worth the money, if you know what I mean. Yeah, bit fiddly to use as well, I think, through the controls on here. It's a bit awkward. I like, though, the fact that it's got a manual that's downloadable, and it even comes with they call it a quick start manual. It's down there. Yeah, so that's it so far. And what we're probably going to do is connect it up to that GM800. In fact, that could be not so far off, and we'll just take a look at it to see how it works. Okay, well, just for completeness, I just wanted to show you the VG800 and the relationship to the GM800, which some people will be able to connect together and use as a guitar synthesizer as well as a V-guitar processor. Now, those two things stuck together are, well, they're on a different sort of level. Obviously, there's more involved, but you've got the output from the VG800 by way of that sort of stereo type of lead, but mine hasn't arrived yet, and it will go into the GK input of the GM800, so you can control more than one thing at once. Obviously, it takes a lot of setting up and messing around, but I do wanted to show you the actual size of the thing in relationship to when you're going to use it, if you're going to use it this way. The GM800 is literally, I would say that's about a third bigger than the VG800. And okay, well, having a look at that software was quite interesting, actually. I was quite surprised that I couldn't just go and find, as you can on some of the other stuff, loads of different effects and just place them in there. Or at least I didn't see them in that software. Now, that might be that the Tone Studio for the VG800 is an early version or something like that. But it could be just as equally, because this is how some things work sometimes. It could be that you can't actually just add new ones in. You might be able to change them, but you can't add new ones in, and there's a subtle difference. I know you can move them around and do all the usual things that you would want to do, but I never found anything to add them actually in the Tone Studio. And a lot of the other devices I've looked at, from the likes of Roland, the GX10 was brilliant. You just pick them up and place them all in like that. That was a fantastic piece of gear. And it also had a fantastic piece of software to go with it. I can't say more. On this one, you can even faff around down in here, but I never actually found much where we can go adding extra things. Maybe that's a limitation or not. Now, I am pretty sure that you might have been rather a bit surprised at the VG800 linked with the GM800 that I've got sitting down over there just a few seconds ago. It's a big long thing like this, and while the GM800 has limitations on aspects like making new tones, I'll call them that, you've got to go online with the software and all the rest of it. And I don't mean the Tone Studio software, I mean the software that I think you've got to pay for that. So, there are these funnies going on, and I don't know the answer. Okay, well, it's time again for that thing, Take a quick look at the chips. Well, earlier I spoke about an ISSI 2345, but that's not its real name. In fact, there's two of these in there. What it actually is an IS42S 16160, and this one's got a J on the end. Yeah, something like that. It's probably over there now, probably. And what is it? Well, it's a 16 meg times 16, 256-bit, megabit that is, synchronous DRAM. And it came out in 2009, believe it or not. The ISSI's 256 synchronous DRAM achieves high-speed data transfers using pipeline architecture. All inputs and output signals refer to the rising edge of the clock input. Don't confuse that with leading edge, will you? The 256 meg SDRAM is organised in a number of ways, and there's a load of little features with it, but as long as you know it's a 256 megabit synchronous DRAM, that's all you really need to know. It's DRAM. Okay, well, the next one to come up is an AD2428, and that again is over there. There's the little chip. It's not very big, is it? Well, some things aren't. That's the wife. Yeah, automotive audio bus, an A2B transceiver. That little thing there. Yeah, believe it or not. So it's a transceiver, and it's got what A2B bus features. Now, let me spew a few of them out, and we'll go from there. Single main node up to 16 subordinate nodes, up to 15 M between nodes, and up to 80 M overall cable length. Yeah, communication over distance. Maybe that's what they use for the serial connection, or not. I can't tell you. It's got a load of features in it, to be honest, far more than we need to know. But the applications of it are audio communication links, microphone arrays, beamforming, hands-free in-car communication, active and road noise cancellation, believe it or not. Well, it might be a noise cancel. To be honest, it covers a load of different features. Well, next up is what many see as a main processor. This Roland BMC, this BMC chip, or Behavioural Modelling Core chip, as it's known, is in many devices. And I can tell you, you don't find much information about this chip really anywhere, because it's proprietary Roland. And all I can tell you is, well, yeah, it's in there. It's even in the GT1000. Never mind the core, it's in the 1000. I think it might be in the core as well. But it's probably in many of the others that I've shown over the years. So conclude what you like with that. It's good enough for them others, so it's probably good enough for this. Okay, well, next one up is a FL128SA1F. Looks like G000. MG00, I think. What that is, you can see it there. There it is, a little chip. It says Flash-NOR memory IC 128 megabit SPI quad IO 133 megahertz chip. Well, basically it's memory. Well, next up is an AKM 4619 VN. Important chips then, because what they are is they're actually codecs. It's a codec 24-bit 4AD 4DA 192 kilohertz TDM. Yeah, there it is. Okay, as you can see from that one there now, that's a BD9865 MWV, and that's responsible for the power management inside the unit. Well, that's it for the chips. Let's move on. So, to the likes and dislikes. I think we'll start on the dislikes first. Let's get that out of the way, because, you know, people pick on me all the time and say, Tony, you don't like anything. Well, that's not actually true. There are lots of things I do like, but some things I don't. On this unit, I think working around on it with these hardware settings, it's all well and good. And you could do it, but I wouldn't be that impressed myself. It's not the easiest way of doing things. And the second dislike is that when I went into the Tone Studio, which was version 1, by the way, so correct me if I'm wrong, but there's a lot of things you can't do. You can't go and grab, you know, new effects and just pop them in like this and all that stuff. You can change them, fair enough, but you can't go and grab all them new ones. I didn't think that was so great. What else don't I like? I think this mono screen is a little bit 2000s. It's a bit old, isn't it? And the GM800 actually down there is the same. It's the same old, same old. And if I remember right, yeah, I do remember right, the GT1000 core is also the same old type of screen, which is a bit disappointing, really. For your £600, £599 it was, I'd expect a colour screen. I might have even liked to have a sort of touch screen, but it is what it is. It's not there. Disappointing. Well, what else is there? Well, if I look at what else there is around here, I don't like the MIDI in and out, although it's there. It's these little, I think them are 3.5mm jacks. I must say, by the way, I do like some of the tones. Some of the tones are exceptional. I like the way that you can detune the guitar just that's a stroke, that's the word. I think that's a really, really powerful thing to do. Oh, you're down there. Yeah. So the tones on this thing and the things it can do, I've seen people telling me, oh yeah, it's Thin Lizzy, it's dual guitar, man. I've never actually found any device yet that can do that without an awful lot of messing around, and I mean a lot of messing around. So I didn't buy this on the basis that Thin Lizzy's going to crawl out of the box anytime soon, and tomorrow morning I'm going to be 2 guitars out of 1 that's Thin Lizzy, as an example. Now I might as well move on to the rest of the things I do like. I do like the build quality. I do like the fact that it's got proper manuals. Things like that. The everyday things, the 1-year warranty, I'll throw in the previous part I don't like because it's not very good. But apart from that, I also like the fact that it uses exactly the same power supply that even on the GT1000 core has got. That's enough of this device. There's 1,000 things that are good and 950 that are bad. I hope you boys out there appreciate it, because it really is hard work. Got an amplifier sitting down there is one of the next things, along with the Fender Tone Monster, which I'm working on with Alan. And we've got a few more things going on, Wait until I tell you about Rolex. But it's nothing to do with this. But wait until I tell you about Rolex and their little sneaky ways of doing things. Oh my God, that's another story. Anyway, that's it for now. Get out of here. You'll be able to hear it any second. Okay, well, here we are in the sort of control room, and as you can see, we've got the Boss VG800 behind us. It's plugged in stereo for a left and a right. We've got the guitar in, the standard guitar in, and we've got the GK5 sitting here that goes in direct to that. Yeah, that's the setup currently. And of course it could be anything you want it to be, but it's a simplistic way of me setting it up. I don't want to be here forever. The video's going on long enough. So what I'm going to do is give you a few demonstrations. I've got the guitar actually turned off at the minute. There it is, turned down. And if I decide to put it in, well, you'll see me flick it in or not, or turn it in, or whatever. So let's have a few examples. They're just chords. I'm not playing any tracks or anything like that. They're just chords, but they are totally untouched as they come in to the recording. Let's see what it's like with the control one down. Now there are so many sounds in this. We can go all the way up to 50 times, well, God knows what. Yeah, well the thing is, I'm not going to do that. You're getting a fiver for it. This one, I'll just show you. This one's an octave unison. Well, what's that about? Well, I don't know either. Let's make sure the guitar's turned on. What is it? Okay, well that's it for now, and yeah, hope it was interesting. Yeah, seems something different, doesn't it? I'll see you next time. Now get out of here.